It started with the wallpaper. I had just moved into the old house in Wren Hollow North in a town too cheap to be trustworthy. But I took it anyway, because I was broke and something about the place felt familiar, even though I'd never been there. It was 2 stories Victorian bones, ugly mustard yellow trim, but solid cold in the way old houses are, as if the walls themselves still held on a winter, didn't mind the rent was half what it should have been, and the landlord didn't ask many questions, just told me not to peel the wallpaper, especially in the upstairs hallway. I laughed when he said it, but he didn't laugh back, just stared for a moment too long before turning away. The wallpaper was hideous dark brown floral patterns that almost looked like they were twisting like vines coiling around themselves. But it was just illusion, worn paper, age. At least that's what I told myself. I moved in on a Monday, alone, no family, no one to help, which meant a lot of late night unpacking, furniture dragging across creaking floors and long silences broken only by the house settling. The first time I noticed something wrong was Thursday night. I had just showered, mirror fog steam in the air, and when I stepped out of the bathroom, I saw it. The wallpaper in the hallway was damp, not peeling, not torn, but wet like it had been sweating. I ran my hand along it, and I swear I felt something pulse beneath the surface. Just once it twitched like a reflex, then nothing. I pulled my hand back, heart thudding, told myself it was just water vapor from the bathroom, humidity, old glue reacting to the air. But the feeling lingered, not just on my skin and my chest like something unseen had acknowledged me. I slept on the couch that night. The next day, the wallpaper was dry, stiff again, just paper, no scent, no stain, but a new pattern had appeared. I would have sworn it wasn't there before. A faint network of red lines, so subtle they only showed when the light hit a certain way, like capillaries beneath skin. I leaned in close, tried to scrape at it with my nail, but it wouldn't come off, wouldn't lift. The surface was smooth, unbroken. But the pattern was growing. At first, I blamed mold or rust leaching through the wall, but it didn't smell, didn't flake. It throbbed, not all the time. But if I stood in the hallway long enough, stared long enough, I could see it, a slow, rhythmic pulse, almost like breathing. I started avoiding the upstairs hallway altogether, used the downstairs bathroom, kept my bedroom door shut. Didn't look at the walls too long, but that only made things worse. I'd hear sounds late at night, soft squelching noises like flesh being pressed or rubbed, faint wet movements, and once something that sounded like a slow heartbeat, too slow to be human. The sound came from inside the wall, specifically where the wallpaper ran thickest. I called the landlord, left voicemails, no response. The next night, I woke up at 3:17 a.m., cold sweat. Something pulling me from sleep. The hallway light was on, even though I always shut it off before bed. I stepped into the hall and stared. The wallpaper had changed again, more lines, thicker now, curved and branching like veins moving beneath the surface, ever so slightly, as if the wall itself were alive. I stood there frozen, couldn't move, couldn't look away, and then I saw it just below. I level, one of the veins twitched, then bulged like something small had moved inside it, wriggled its way deeper into the wall. I turned away and vomited in the bathroom sink. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I thought about tearing it all down, grabbing a knife, ripping every strip free. But I remembered what the landlord said, don't peel the wallpaper, and something told me he meant it. That night, I slept downstairs again, this time with the lights on. I searched online for similar stories, signs of infestations, fungal growths, psychedelic mold hallucinations, but nothing matched what I saw. There were forums, old abandoned message boards. One had a thread titled, "The Walls Won't Stop Breathing." Most of it was rambling, but one post caught my eye. It was from 6 years ago, user deleted, but the message was simple. I saw it move under the paper. I peeled it. I shouldn't have peeled it. Remembers when you touch it, I stared at the screen for hours, eventually shut the laptop, and just sat in silence. The next few days, I avoided the hallway. Didn't even go upstairs, but the smell found me anyway, faint copper warm and wrong, like blood and soil left in the sun. I started dreaming of walls, endless walls, pulsing, stretching, growing, and something inside them, watching me, learning my rhythm, beating to the same pattern as my heart sometimes eyed. Wake up with nosebleeds always at 3:17 a.m. No explanation, and each morning the wallpaper would be more detailed, new curves, sharper branches. The network was growing faster, now reaching toward the ceiling, toward the baseboards, toward me. I stopped inviting people over, not that I had many, but even the mailman started leaving packages at the gate. No one liked coming near the place. I called a contractor, paid him to inspect the upstairs walls. He was polite at first, smiled, laughed when I said the wallpaper felt like it was moving, but when he saw it, he turned pale. He pressed a gloved hand to the wall, frowned, then pressed again. He turned to me and asked, "Is this real?" I didn't know what to say. He stared for a while longer, then backed away slowly and said he forgot his tools in the truck. He never came back. I left him 5 voicemails. He never responded. His company stopped answering my calls. The smell intensified that week, even downstairs now, and the pulsing grew louder. I didn't need to touch the wall anymore. To feel it, I could hear from my bed on. The 7th night, I finally snapped. I took a razor blade, walked upstairs, and dragged the blade slowly across the wallpaper. Just a small cut, only a few inches. I expected old plaster, maybe mold wood beams. What I saw was pink, wet flesh, not wood, not plaster tissue, quivering like a muscle, and then it bled. A thin line of dark liquid oozed from the cut down the wall into the carpet. I fell backward, knocked over a lamp, crawled downstairs like an animal. Didn't stop until I was outside on the lawn barefoot, and the cold. The house was silent behind me, but the smell followed, and somewhere inside I could hear it moving, not in the walls anymore, through them. I didn't sleep the night. I cut the wallpaper. I sat in my car with the keys in my lap, windows cracked, radio off, listening for something I couldn't describe, but I knew it was there, still inside the house, breathing without lungs every now and then. I swore I heard a faint thud from the 2nd floor, like a heartbeat with no body, or the dull rhythm of something dragging itself from room to room. Just before dawn, I crept back inside, not because I was brave, but because all my things were in there, and the air outside had started to taste like rust. I walked carefully, avoided the upstairs even, though I could feel it watching. From behind the walls, from under the floor that day, I bought a tub of plaster, buckets of paint. I was going to seal it off, every inch of it, make the walls white again, cover everything. Because if I couldn't see it, maybe it would stop. But when I went back upstairs, the cut I made was gone. No tear, no blood, just the wallpaper hole pulsing slightly like it had healed. I dropped the plaster. It cracked open on the floor and spilled across the carpet. I didn't pick it up. I ran. The next 3 nights were worse. I didn't sleep. I couldn't, because something was scratching inside the walls now, something rhythmic like fingernails on old bone, and it always came from the same place, behind the bedroom wall, where the wallpaper had grown thickest, darkest, almost black. I started counting the pulses every night, like it was a signal, a language, trying to talk through muscle and drywall. 48 pulses, then silence, then 48 again, over and over until dawn on the 4th night. I couldn't take it anymore. I moved my mattress downstairs into the living room, slept on the floor like I was camping in a stranger's house. But that didn't help. The smell followed, stronger than ever, rotten blood and something that reminded me of old meat left in a freezer too long. I opened all the windows, let the wind blow through, but it didn't matter. The stink wasn't in the air. It was in the house, in the wood, in the walls. The next morning, I found something new, a small mound in the hallway. Upstairs, just below where the wallpaper was pulsing the hardest, a bump about the size of a fist pushing out from beneath the surface like something was trying to come through. I touched it once lightly. It shuddered under my hand like muscle spasming under skin. I ran again, but not far because I had nowhere to go. I tried calling the landlord again. This time I got a voicemail with a different name. The number wasn't his anymore, or maybe it never was. I drove to the leasing office. It was gone windows. Boarded, no forwarding address, just a sign on the door, evacuated. Due to structural contamination, do not enter call the city. If exposure occurs, I left. But I took a photo of the sign that night. I dreamed of breathing walls, only this time they were breathing in sync with me. Inhale, exhale, matching every movement, as if we were connected, now part of the same cycle. When I woke up, my nose was bleeding again, and there was something wet on the living room ceiling, a dark drip trailing down from the upstairs floor. I followed it, even though every part of me said not to step. I step up the stairs back into the hallway. The wallpaper had changed again. The veins were thicker now, some as wide as my wrist. They crisscrossed like a circulatory system, not a pattern anymore, but a network, a body, and the mound in the wall had grown. It was now the size of a child's torso, twitching gently like it was asleep. I stared at it, and for a moment, I felt something move inside me, a flutter in my stomach, a heat in my throat like the house had reached through the wall and touched something inside me. I stumbled back down the stairs, locked myself in the downstairs bathroom, puked into the sink until I was dry. I turned on all the lights in the house, every bulb, but somehow the hallway upstairs was still dim like the shadows. They were thicker than they should be, soaking up the light, feeding on it. The next day, the mound split, not a rupture, not a tear, a deliberate opening like a mouth forming, and the wall-thin folds of wet tissue parting, revealing something glistening beneath. I didn't get close. I didn't need to, because even from the staircase, I could see something inside it blink, not an eye, something worse than not, of meat with a black slit that pulsed every time I hearted. I could feel it watching, not like a person watches, but like a predator sizing up something already cornered. I tried to leave that night, packed a bag, keys in hand, but when I stepped outside, I couldn't breathe. The air was too thick, too sweet, like spoiled fruit and decay. I gagged and stumbled back inside. And when I looked out the window, the street was gone, replaced by fog, not mist, not morning haze, but a living fog, twisting, churning, pressing against the glass. I closed the blind, sat in the corner of the kitchen, and waited it stay that way for hours. I think the house knew. I tried to leave, and it didn't like it that night. I didn't sleep. I sat on the floor and listened to the heartbeat in the walls counting. The pulses 48, pause 48, and in between words started to form, not in sound, but in rhythm. Join us, over and over, join us. I never told anyone about this, not because I didn't want to, but because I couldn't remember how to start my phone. Stopped working, laptop screen went black. Even the clock's froze. Time was bending around the house, now stretching, snapping back. I'd fall asleep at noon and wake at night, or blink and realize 3 days had passed. And through it all, the mound kept growing, not just wider, but longer, spreading down the hallway, branching like veins. The house wasn't sick. It was gestating. It was growing something, and I was part of it now. There are no clocks in the house anymore. I threw the last one away. Yesterday, or the day before, time doesn't pass the same way in here now. The wallpaper pulses. Even when I'm not looking, I can feel it behind me, through the floors, through the walls of my jaw and my teeth. Sometimes it clicks at night, a moist sound like joints popping in muscle. I stopped going upstairs completely, but it didn't help, because now the walls downstairs have started changing too subtly. At first, just tiny red capillaries bleeding through the paint in corners along the floorboards, but I see Then the living room wall flexed last night. I saw it from the corner of my eye like someone had pushed against it from the other side. But when I turned, there was no dent, no bulge, just the memory of movement sometimes. When I blink, the room changes things on the shelf or missing or in the wrong place. Once the light switch was on the opposite wall, then back again the next hour. I think the house is testing what I notice, what I don't, is trying to learn my patterns to better match me the mound. Upstairs isn't just a mound anymore. It has a shape now long and low, coiling down the hallway like a muscle beneath the wallpaper, and it pulses in time with my breath. When I hold my breath, it waits. When I exhale, it throbs again. It's not hiding anymore. It's mimicking me yesterday. I found something in the kitchen, a single tooth on the floor, human, white still, what it wasn't mine. I counted mine twice, just to be sure, 32 still there. But the tooth was real solid heavy in my palm. It was still warm. When I picked it up, I threw it in the garbage, but it was back on the floor this morning in the exact same place next to the baseboard where a thin red line has begun crawling upward like a vein. I took a knife and cut the baseboard. Away beneath the wood was more wallpaper, not the kind I'd seen before this one was alive. It was slick-veined, and it twitched when the air touched it like it didn't want to be seen. I covered it back up, but I know it's still there, spreading. The house shifts at night. The creaks aren't random anymore. They have a pattern like footsteps pacing or something huge moving through tight spaces, dragging itself. Behind the walls, I hear breathing in the vents, now not fast, slow, and steady like something sleeping or pretending to. 3 nights ago, I woke up to the sound of my own voice, not from my throat, but echoing faintly from inside the walls. It was repeating something I'd said earlier that day, just a sentence, nothing special, but the wall remembered, and it didn't just echo it, it said it back with hesitation, with rhythm, as if it was trying to understand how to sound like me. The same sentence repeated 4 times, then silence. I sat on the floor for hours, too scared to move, too scared to blink, because now the house doesn't just see me, it listens, it studies, and I'm starting to forget things, little things. At first, what day it is, where I left my keys, whether I'd eaten. But yesterday I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the shape of my own jaw. It looked soft or not wrong, but not mine. My skin itches constantly now, mostly around my arms and chest, under the skin, like something small is shifting beneath the surface, trying to make room. Sometimes I swear I can feel wallpaper just under the top layer of my skin, as if the house is grafting itself onto me, or I'm becoming grafted into it. The dreams are worse. Every night I walk through a hallway made of flesh. The walls pulse with light and sound, and there are no doors, only open mouths in the shape of runes, and in the far end a figure stands with no skin, but it's not bleeding, it's smiling. Its face is the same as mine, only older, more familiar, like a version of myself I haven't become yet. But it doesn't speak, but I know what it's thinking. You're almost ready. I wake up dry-mouthed and shaking, and always there is wallpaper under my fingernails, not shreds, but strands wet-veined, as if I had been peeling it in my sleep, or worse. As if it had been peeling me. I started writing things down, but the words rearrange themselves when I look away. Sometimes I find phrases I don't remember writing. It needs a host. The skin of the house is not the limit. You are the frame. I try burning the paper, but it won't catch even when soaked in lighter fluid. The flame turns black cold, then disappears. The phone rang last night, a number I didn't know, but I answered it anyway because the silence was worse. All I heard was breathing, matching mine, and out. Then in my own voice, the word home. I dropped the phone. It shattered like glass. But this morning it was back on the hook, no cracks, still warm to the touch. I don't know how long I've been here anymore. The windows show nothing but red light like sunset. Frozen forever. Sometimes I see people outside, but they're made of seams and folds like human-shaped quilts stuffed with breathing things. They don't knock, they don't speak, they just stand still and wait. I think they're waiting for me to finish to join them. The walls bulge when I walk by now, almost lovingly, as if they know I've stopped resisting, as if they can feel me giving in. I found my old baby photo in the bedroom drawer today, but in the picture, the wallpaper behind me is veined the same exact pattern as this house, but I wasn't raised here. This house is new to me. Isn't it? Isn't it? I stopped writing on paper. The words kept changing. Letters squirmed like worms, forming new sentences. While I slept now, I scratched things into the floor, etched them into the wood. With my fingernail, that way I know they're real, because it hurts when I do it. Pain is proof. I carved the word out into the living room floor last night. When I woke up, it was gone. In its place, the word I in had been carved back deeper, cleaner, not in my handwriting and not by anything human. I haven't seen the sky in days. The windows show nothing now, not dark, not light, just a pale flesh-colored haze, like the house is growing skin over them. I tried breaking one again, hit it with a chair until the wood cracked, but the glass didn't even scratch. Instead, it pulsed like something behind it was bracing or waiting. The light in the house doesn't come from bulbs anymore. They've all gone dead, but the rooms still glow softly, a low, ambient throb like light filtered through a body. There's no electricity, but the walls are warm, always warm, alive, warm. Sometimes I press my ear to them, not because I want to, but because they ask me to. They don't speak in words, not anymore, just in rhythm, heartbeat against heartbeat, trying to match mine. Last night, I felt a twitch in my spine, a subtle tug like a cord had been plugged into me from inside, something pulling gently, then letting go. When I undressed, I found a new line on my back, a vein that hadn't been there before. It runs from the base of my skull down to my hip, pulsing, slowly synchronizing with the wall behind me. I didn't go to sleep. I couldn't. The dreams have become too physical. I feel things in them now. Texture, moisture, pain, not imagined, remembered. The figure without skin is closer now. It stands just beyond the last hallway in my dream. I can see my own reflection in its eyes, but the reflection is wrong in the reflection. I am part wall, flesh stitched with wallpaper veins running over my face, my smile stretched and dry. The worst part is in the dream. I don't want to wake up. I woke yesterday to find the veins had reached the floor, thick ropes of red-black, pushing up through the seams in the wood, coiling like roots under my feet. And when I stood, the floor was soft, not rotten, not damp flesh. I tore up the carpet beneath it. The floorboards had changed, each board a strip of muscle, tendons threading between them like ligatures. When I touched it, it trembled, not from pain, but from anticipation. It like being touched. I ran into the kitchen, slipped in something wet. When I looked down, there was a slick trail of fluid across the tile, dark red, viscous, leading to the basement door, which was open. I never opened that door. I stood at the top of the stairs and listened. There were no footsteps, just breath, slow, heaving, wet. And then something moved up the stairs, not walking, crawling. It didn't speak. It didn't have to, because the walls whispered for it. Soon I slammed the door, pushed the fridge in front of it. But I can still hear the breathing at night, right beneath the floorboards, directly under my bed 2 nights ago. I heard a voice outside the front door, a real voice, familiar. It was my mother. She called my name, knocked softly, asked if I was okay, said she missed me, but I haven't spoken to her in years. She died 3 years ago in a hospice bed across the state. I watched her die. Still, the voice outside sounded perfect, too perfect, like it was copied from memory. When I looked through the peephole, there was someone standing there, shape or height, but her head was wrong, too long, too smooth, no hair, just folds of soft skin pulled tight over the skull like a face that hadn't been sewn on, yet it stayed. 4 hours, never moved, never blinked, just whispered my name over and over until the sun rose, or what passes for sun now. I haven't opened the front door since I started bleeding from the gums yesterday. Thick strands of tissue came out. When I brushed at first, I thought they were blood clots. Then I saw the patterned veins, perfect wallpaper veins, pale and sticky, growing from inside me now. They're not just on the walls anymore. They're in my mouth, my arms, the corners of my eyes. I cut one open, watched it twitch, and it twitched in time with the wall beside me were sinking. I thought about calling the police, but the phones don't work anymore. When I dial out, all I hear is that same slow heartbeat then. Laughter, not human, not machine. Somewhere between bone and static, I think it's laughing because it knows I waited too long, knows I stayed. When I should have run, the mirror has started lying to me. My reflection is slower now, always half a second behind. Sometimes it moves before I do, anticipates me, smiles when I don't yesterday. I caught it blinking when I hadn't. It smiled and touched the glass. Its hand was what I smashed it, but in the broken shards the reflection still stared back. Whole and smooth, it's not a reflection. Anymore, it's a window. I tried leaving through the back door, ran into the yard, or what used to be the yard now. It just folds massive sheets of veined wallpaper stretching across the ground like skin. I stepped on one, and it sighed along. Low exhale that came from beneath the house isn't a house, it never was. It's a lung, a stomach, a brain, and I'm not trapped inside it. I'm being absorbed. There's a moment just before sleep when your body shuts down, but your mind floats. I've stopped fearing that moment because now it's the only time I remember what it felt like to be me. When I dream now, I don't see memories. I see the house's thoughts. And it sees mine. We've become porous. Last night, I dreamed of lungs, the size of buildings pressed, between walls breathing, slow and deep, sucking the color out of the world. The air tastes different, not like mold or mildew, but something thinner like breath exhaled from between teeth that aren't quite human. The walls are sweating, the floor pulses with slow fluid veins run openly along the surface now. They don't hide anymore. I stepped barefoot into the hallway this morning and felt them under me, warm and shifting, like they recognized me, like they approved. The figure from my dreams now appears in reflections, not just mirrors, but metal glass, even water. It stands behind me, skinless, grinning, but now it wears a necklace made of teeth, my teeth, because every night I lose another one, not from my mouth, but from somewhere else. Places I shouldn't be losing. Teeth from last week. I found one in my thigh, pushed halfway out of the skin like it had grown there or been planted. When I pulled it free, the pain was sharp, but what oozed out wasn't blood. It was wallpaper, glue thick, off-white, with flecks of pink. My fingernails are soft now, like damp paper. They peel when I touch certain surfaces, especially the upstairs hallway, where the mound has become something else entirely. It isn't just a bulge in the wall. It's a torso pressed. Beneath the wallpaper, you can see the ribs now stretching and releasing slowly with every breath. Sometimes it groans, not a sound, but a vibration like deep ocean pressure or a church organ pressed through the floorboards. I placed my hand on it, and it felt my name, not said, not heard, but felt it push my name into my fingers, through the bone, and up into my skull now. Echoes behind my eyes. I don't say it anymore, not aloud, because it doesn't belong to me. Now it belongs to the house. I try to cut it out, the name, carved it from my skin, but it grew back wrong in the language of seams and stitches. There's a pattern in the pulsing now. The walls beat like a heart, but they also twitch in Morse. I wrote it down over hours, days, weeks. Maybe, and it repeats over and over the same phrase. I am almost finished. The basement door has opened again. I don't remember moving the fridge, but it's gone, replaced by a second staircase, not down, but inward. The steps are soft, moist, they sink. When I step, there's no railing, just veins trailing the walls, and they're warm the deeper I go, the louder the sound becomes. It's not breathing anymore. It's chewing something thick and wet, grinding bone, then stopping. To listen, sometimes I hear my heartbeat echo off the walls, but it isn't mine, it's the house's, and it's louder, faster, hungry. I don't remember what outside feels like. The house ate all the windows. I tried painting one just to see a rectangle of blue, but the next morning it was gone, replaced by a shape that looks like my bedroom window, from childhood down to the latch, the faded sticker in the corner. But when I looked through it, I saw my face pressed to the glass on the outside, smiling. I didn't scream, I waved back. I think I've been waving for days. There are people coming to the house now, or things shaped like people. Their faces aren't finished, just smooth patches of skin. Where features might go, they knock softly, rhythmically, and sometimes they press their foreheads to the wall, as if listening not to me, to the heartbeat. Sometimes they scratch at the door with fingers, two long nails like pins. Sometimes I scratch back. I found a notebook under the floorboards yesterday. It was mine, pages from before, notes, drawings, a rough sketch of the upstairs hallway before the mound. It feels like someone else's handwriting, someone sane, someone outside. There was a sentence on the last page. If you're reading this, the house has already taken the bones. I flipped the page. The next one said, "Don't look in the mirror on the 8th day." I don't remember what day it is, but the mirror in the hallway has been buzzing all morning like a wasp nest behind the glass. The house smells like copper and birth. Every surface is alive now. The walls breathe, the floors twitch, the doorknobs sweat, and the wallpaper moans softly when I touch it. I don't know why I still touch it. Maybe because I need to know what's underneath. Sometimes I peel it gently like skin from a sunburn, and I see eyes not open, not shut, just waiting. Each blink makes the wall sigh. There's one on the ceiling now, huge, red-rimmed, looking down at me. Even when I'm not here, I stop sleeping in a bed now. I lay on the floor, chest to wood, so I can feel its heartbeat in mine, so we can sync. And when I close my eyes, I hear it whisper, not in words, but in wet understanding. It says, "I'm almost done, almost ready to leave the shape I used to wear to be framed, hung, finished." It says, "Soon I won't need to walk because the walls will carry me. Every room, my mouth, every window, every pulse, my name. There is no time here anymore." The clock melted 5 days ago, or maybe it was 5 weeks. It dripped down the wall like syrup, its hands twitching, struggling, finally curling inward as if they were trying to hold on to something solid that was no longer there. Time doesn't belong in a body, and this is a body now. It's not a metaphor. It's not madness. This house is flesh, muscle, nerve, thought, and me. I am somewhere beneath the floor, behind the walls, within the walls, and sometimes I am the walls. There was a moment, I remember it clearly now, when I felt something shift in my spine, a deep tearing like zipper teeth being pulled open along the center of my back. I screamed, I think, my mouth filled with glue and dust. Something curled inside me. A new spine. The house's spine. I think that was when I stopped being a tenant and started being a part. The pain was so sharp and clean it felt like remembering. Like this was always what I was supposed to become. And then the mirror in the hall shattered. Not from impact, but because I smiled too wide. The glass couldn't reflect what I had become. Not completely. My teeth had doubled. My eyes had split. When I blinked, the walls pulsed in time. I walked barefoot through the kitchen, and the linoleum rippled under me like thin skin stretched over water. There are faces beneath it now, just faint impressions, eyes and lips forming in the stains. When I stepped carefully, they didn't scream. When I ran, they howled. I don't run anymore. There's a rhythm to this place. It teaches you to walk in step with the heartbeat. If you move too fast, the floor hardens. If you stop too long, the ceiling opens its pores and drips something that erases your thoughts for hours. One night, I slept in the hallway. When I woke up, there was something stitched to my chest. I pulled it away slowly, thread by thread. It had been a photograph, the kind I'd once taken in this house. The image was of me, but not me now. Me then, smiling, standing beside the bedroom window, looking out, the wallpaper clean, no veins, no heartbeat, not yet. That photograph burned in my hand. No flame, no smoke, just heat that kept rising until it wasn't there anymore. But the image stayed in my mind. Perfect, sharp. I think that's the only part of me that hasn't been absorbed yet, the memory of before. The last struggle, the last sin, because I was the first. I found the others. They're in the walls now, not metaphorically. Their bodies, what's left of them, stretched between beams, wrapped in wallpaper like gauze. Their mouths frozen open, their fingers fused with wires. Their names etched into the crawl space beneath the basement like footnotes on a failed draft. Each of them saw the veins. Each of them stayed too long. Each of them peeled back the wallpaper just a little too far. I understand now. The house doesn't just eat. It writes. It builds itself from the people who refuse to leave. We are part of its story. Every name, every scream, every whispered plea, we become paragraphs. And the wallpaper? That's not decor. That's skin-bound text. A story written in flesh and sealed with blood. It is still being written. Last night, I followed the veins to the attic. There is no attic door now, just a hole in the ceiling like an open throat. The veins led upward like a rope ladder. I climbed, slowly, careful not to disturb the rhythm. Inside the attic, there were no walls. Just lungs. Massive, red, shuddering sacs pressed against the roof beams, inflating, deflating, releasing warm, metallic breath that smelled like burning photographs and old teeth. In the center, a cradle made of ribs. Inside the cradle, a body still being formed. It had no face yet, just a hollow oval. But I knew it was mine. The house is building a new version of me. Not a copy, not a puppet, an evolution. This one won't need to eat, won't need to speak. It will just feel every breath, every flicker of movement in the walls, every scrape of nail across papered surface. I knelt beside it, and I felt something fill me. Acceptance, completion, submission. I know what I must do now. I came back downstairs. I walked into the room where the veins first started to pulse. The original wallpaper was long gone, replaced with a translucent membrane that glowed softly, like a womb wall backlit by soft lightning. I stood in the center of the room. My body knew what to do. My arms rose. My hands pulled at my own face. Not to remove it, but to open it. Because I'm not me anymore. I'm a chapter, a stanza, a final sentence written in red ink. The walls folded in. The room became tight. The ceiling sighed, and then I stepped into the wall. Not through it, into it. It swallowed me gently. No pain, no resistance, just warmth. Epilogue. What you must understand, this house is not haunted. It doesn't contain ghosts. It doesn't need them. It is alive and has always been. It finds people who are lonely. People who take pictures of empty rooms hoping to make them feel like home. People who ignore the first signs, the hum, the twitch, the low moan in the walls. It finds them and waits. It pulses softly. It grows beneath their feet. And when they realize too late, when they try to leave, the door locks not with a key, but with a heartbeat. You'll still see it sometimes, that house. It moves from place to place. It's for sale again now. Nice neighborhood. Old structure. Charming details. The photos look ordinary. Except for one. Look closely. The wallpaper in the background has veins. And if you zoom in close enough, sharp enough, you'll see something behind the wallpaper. A smile waiting.